personally, I just don't get poetry, just like I don't get art. It's not that I don't like it, I just don't get it. So therefore, I don't go out of my way to read it.
1, 2, 3, let's switch this up.
Welcome back, or welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be going through my reading statistics for 2022, as well as planning out some reading goals for 2023. So if you're interested to come along on that ride, then keep on watching. So I just want to preface this video by saying that I did not start reading until July of this year. Before that, I had not read a book or picked up a book since 2016, and I think that year I probably read like 1.5 books. If I had to do like top 3 like genres that I like read the most, it'll be like murder mystery, thriller, suspense, whatever. That will be like number 1, and then it'll be rom-coms, and then it'll be fantasy. I would say everything else after that is kind of just like here and there. With that in mind, I'm curious to see if I will be surprised at all by any of the stats that I see. So let's just jump right in. So 2022 reading stats. The first category goes over how many books you've read and how many pages you've read. So I have read 31 books, which is insane. To have read 31 books in like 6 months or something like that, that's insane, when normally I don't get through more than 2 books in a year. Wow. And then 11,555 pages, like, okay. For moods, it looks like the biggest players in the game are mysterious, which makes sense. Adventurous, that's probably because of the fantasy stuff that I read. Dark, makes sense. That probably goes along with the mystery. And then tense, which probably also goes with both the mystery and the fantasy. What's orange? Emotional, huh. What books did I read that were emotional? Let's see. Big Little Lies was emotional. I don't think that I would consider that emotional, but okay. Ugly Love, yeah, I guess. Shatter Me, Court of Mist and Fury, Glad My Mom Died, yeah. Layla, Song of Achilles, yes. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, yes. Malibu Rising, yes. Books that I apparently don't read a lot of are hopeful books, yikes. Funny books, which I would like to, that is a category that I would like to increase in the next year. Sad, which is good. I don't really care for sad books. I might do like a video where like I read a bunch of sad books to see if like they're actually sad, or like, because people were like, oh my gosh, this book was so sad, this book was so emotional, it made me cry. And I'm just like, why is it making you cry? Like, I can't understand the concept of a book making me cry. So maybe I'll try to like do that at some point next year. Not me trying to emotionally torture myself. Reflective, I don't fully know what that means. The first book that came to mind was My Year of Rest and Relaxation, which we're not going to get into that. But like, that book was kind of reflective, in my opinion. I don't know if they consider that reflective. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay, so yeah. So I guess maybe that's what they mean, like characters self-reflecting. When I think of reflecting, I think of like, I'm reading this and like I'm doing self-reflecting like while I'm reading it. Like, it makes me self-reflect. Does that make sense? So the next category is pacing. So it looks like I read mostly medium-paced books, and then fast-paced books, and then slow books. I personally don't care for slow books. Like, people say, oh, this is like a slow burn. Like, that to me is like a turn-off. I don't like the idea of a slow burn book, because if it's slow and it's like not giving me enough, then I'm probably going to become uninterested and not finish it. Next we have page number. So it looks like the greatest section that I have is the, oh, okay. It's the 300 to 499 page range. I have 10% that's over 500 pages. I guarantee you that's probably like ACOTAR. And then 13% that's under 300 pages. Let's just see what's over 500. Oh, Big Little Lies is over 500? I didn't realize that. I knew ACOTAR was going to be here. Paper Girls, I guess that counts, but I didn't even think about it like that because I didn't like read it all in one sitting. I read like one volume at a time. Next we have fiction versus nonfiction. So I clearly read mostly fiction. The only nonfiction book that I read is probably the Jeanette McCurdy, I'm Glad My Mom Died. That's the only nonfiction book that I read. That is something that I would like to also change in 2023. So next we have genres. So I'm very surprised at this. This is actually throwing me for a loop a little bit. It says that young adult is the genre that I read the most, which I would not have expected because I personally don't really care for young adult books. After you get past the weird young adult thing at the top, it literally is the exact order that I figured it would be. Thriller, romance, fantasy, which is exactly what I said earlier. The only difference is that they separate thriller from mystery. To me, thriller and mystery are like all the same thing. Most mysteries are thrillers, and most thrillers have some kind of mysterious elements to them as well. So to me, they're all one thing, but on here it's separated, and that's fine. Horror is another one that I would like to have, I would like to read more of in 2023. Manga is another one that I would like to read more of in 2023. This young adult at the top, that is really throwing me for a loop. I don't know why that's there. What did I read? And see, this is exactly why I don't really care to read YA, because most of the books that are on here that are YA are books to me that were they were fine, they were okay. They weren't bad, but it's if I hadn't read them, I don't feel like I'd be missing out on anything. With the exception of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. That series to me was fantastic. One of Us' Lying was okay. Light Lark could have done without. What else? Shatter Me was good. We Were Liars. I don't need to keep talking about this book. Y'all already know how I feel about that book. Format. So the majority of the books that I read are print. Yes, that is true. Most read authors, Holly Jackson, and that's because I read the whole Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. Karen M. McManus, because I read, so far it's just a duology, but there is going to be a third book that's supposed to be coming out, I think, next summer. So when that comes out, I will eventually read that as well. Sarah J. Maas, I've read the first 2 books of Avatar. I have the third book. I plan on starting it as soon as January starts. That's going to be the first book that I read for the new year. Colleen Hoover, I did read 2 of her books. I read Ugly Love and Layla. And then Taylor Jenkins Reid, I read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Malibu Rising. All of my books are in English. Number of books and pages, we kind of already ran over that. This just gives a breakdown of when I read the most. So as you can see, everything before July is completely flat because I was not reading at all. I'm not done with December yet because I still have at least 2 more books that I want to finish before the end of this month, which obviously are not going to be included in these stats. So by the time 2023 actually hits, I'm hoping that this will say 33 books and however many more pages that is, I don't know. But I do still have 2 more books at least 2 more books that I want to get through before the end of the year. Average rating. So my average rating is 3.9, which that sounds about right. That I would say that's pretty on par. I would say most books that I read probably are around the 4-star range or area, whatever. There are a couple that I've had to give 2 stars because I was not happy with them. And then there are a couple that are in the 3-star range where it's they were okay, but they weren't good, put it that way. And then I have a couple of 5-star bangers. So these statistics look pretty on par with what I would expect. So now I'm going to plan out some reading goals for 2023. And I kind of have an idea of some different things. So things kind of popped into mind. I kind of mentioned them when I was going through my statistics, but there are also some other ones that I want to try to incorporate. So I'm going to try to get them down, written down so that I can kind of visualize them. So I'm just going to be doing this on my laptop. So let's try to make this look a little more presentable and a little prettier. This is going to be my book tracker. And let's try to make this a little more specific. Let's see. One of the things that I said I wanted to do was read 5 mangas. What else did I say that I wanted to do? Read more nonfiction. Nonfiction is something that I don't particularly like, so I'm not gonna tell myself that I'm gonna read 5 nonfiction because that's probably not gonna happen. I'll be lucky if I read 1. I'm gonna say to read at least 1 non-fiction. The next one that I want to do is the series one. Now I have a bunch of series that I want to do, so trying to like come up with a number that I think is like realistic. There are so many series. Even in that video that I did where I talked about all the series I want to read, that's actually not all the series that I want to read. Those are just the series that I want to read that I like actually have the books for already. There are other series that I want to read that I don't own, like Throne of Glass, for example, is a series that I want to read, but I don't own any of the Throne of Glass books. I'm going to say 3. I think 3 is an attainable goal in terms of the number of series that I can read. Another thing that I want to read, and it's crazy that I haven't read any yet, I would like to read more Christian books. And I have quite a few on my TBR that I just haven't read yet. So that is another goal that I want to accomplish. I'm going to say, just to be on the safe side, that I want to read at least 2 Christian books. I've never read an anthology, I don't think. I'm pretty sure I haven't yet. So I'd like to add that to my list. I'm, again, going to err on the side of caution. And I'm going to say that I want to read at least 1. Because I feel like this is the kind of book that I would start and not finish. Especially because there's like a bunch of like smaller stories in it. It's easy to like read a couple of stories. And because you actually completed the story without completing the book, like you kind of just feel like you did something. So like I might read like the first 3 stories, and once you get to the end of that 3rd story, you're like, okay, that's enough. So this is something that I feel like I could easily end up DNFing, not even on purpose. So I'm not going to set the bar too high for this one, and I think I'm just going to try to read at least 1. With all of this, between the Christian books, the nonfiction books, the anthologies, I'm hoping, did I say nonfiction already? I'm hoping that by the time I finish with all of those, that I will have read at least 5 books out of my comfort zone. So I'm going to put read at least 5 books out of my comfort zone. Let's set a goal of how many books I want to read altogether for the year. I think that ideally I would like to read 60 books. I think that if I was able to do over 30 just from July to now, if I can like duplicate that for like the first half of the year, then I could have potentially read 60 books or over 60 books for the year, which sounds insane coming out of my mouth. Like I can't even believe that I'm saying this. But I think that it's better to set more attainable and realistic goals. So I'm not going to say 60 because it can be discouraging to set goals and then you don't hit them. So I want to try to set not like super easy goals, but like goals that I think are attainable, and then like you can always increase them, you know, later. So I'm going to say, although I would like to put 60, I think I'm going to put 48. And there you have it. Those are all of my stats for 2022 and reading goals for 2023. I don't normally set like New Year's goals or resolutions, but I figured this would be a good way to kind of like hold myself accountable and also keep track of like what I'm reading and kind of like broaden and expand my reading so that I'm not just reading the same kind of stuff all the time. Kind of want to be like a more like well-rounded reader, if you will. So let me know down below if you guys have any reading plans or what your stats look like for the year. I'd love to chat. Maybe there are some goals that I didn't think about, so if you guys have any suggestions of any goals that you guys are trying to accomplish in 2023, of course let me know that down below. Do all that YouTube stuff, like, share, comment, subscribe. Also, of course, as always, all of my socials, Goodreads, Storygraph, Discord, all that will be down below in the description box, and I will see you guys in the new year. Bye. I don't read to like learn. I read for entertainment. Okay, hello. Oh, lots of messages. What's going on? I read to be entertained. I read for escapism. You know, I read for fun. I don't read for what is happening. Oh my gosh, my phone will not stop. Okay. What was I saying?